couple of days and also be interacting with industry players on what is accounting for this and how can it be sustained. Also later in the bulletin, we'll be speaking with the newly appointed Managing Director of the Tema Oil Refinery, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, to pick his thoughts on how Tema Oil Refinery is faring, especially amid efforts by the government to ensure that state-owned enterprises return to profitability. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, straight into the big one. Fuel prices over the last couple of months, weeks, I would say, have declined marginally. Now, Ghanaians expect a significant reduction in fuel prices at the pumps, starting from March 16, hopefully, today, 2025. According to the latest pricing window, petrol is to drop by 4.5% to 14 cedis 90 pesos per litre, depending on where you buy from, while diesel price is also expected to decrease by 3.8% to 15 cedis 90 pesos also per litre, depending on your source. And LPG prices are also expected to decline by 3.9% to 17 cedis 35 pesos per kilogram. Now, we have joining us via Zoom the CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, Dr. Revamping. Thank you so much for your time, Doc. Thank you for joining us. Doc, kindly unmute if you're muted so we can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much and good evening to you.
Recording in progress.
Great. Thank you so much, Doc. So initial thoughts, we are seeing prices begin to somewhat decline. What really is happening?
Yeah. Let me start off by saying that this is not of yet. I mean, the government is looking at to influence a sustainable price regime, but it's very difficult for government to intervene in any capacity when the market is fully deregulated, okay, in terms of the OMC side of the business. Three levers that controls all the S-pump prices in terms of the breakdown are the S reference, the S ref price, as we call the S refinery price, which constitutes about 75% of the pump price you see in the market. 21% coming from the taxes, levies, and the regulatory margins from the regulators, and also the 4 to 5% coming from the marketers and dealers margin. So when I hear that my members, which are the oil marketing companies, are overcharging, they don't want to reduce, I kind of laugh in the head, because looking at our percentage in the price build-up of 4 to 5% to tell you that we don't control anything. What really control the prices today is the X-ref price. So what goes into that? I say that because the 20 to 21% of the taxes, levies are also kept constant until the government reviews it, and which we are in dialogue with the government to see what it can do to bring some of the levies down, to get members, to get the ordinary Ghanaian pay for the right amount of fuel. Because we believe that most of the taxes have paid its dues and needs to be reviewed. So the FREF price will pick the international trading, I'll say, benchmark price, be it Platt or Argos, depending on which product you're talking about, be it gasoline, gas oil, or LPG, bitumen. So basically, what happens is that the price on the market for the past 3 windows have declined. And this is governed by pure geopolitics. Government of Ghana has no business in this and has played no role in bringing the world price margins down. And if you take a look at the percentage at which this crude oil price coming down, petrol price coming down, they are coming down at a rate of 6 to 9%. So one will ask, why are you not experiencing 6 to 9% decrease, but we are seeing 3.5 and all that, because there are other variables that are equally important. And one of them is the forex, how the city also behave in the market. We've seen for the past 4 weeks, the city stabilized, but today, being Monday, we've seen that the city has gone to 16 at the forest bureaus. This, for us, is very key, because even though the international benchmark prices might come down, the city might be a bit of controversy in maintaining the step down of the prices. I'm very happy that you mentioned that some stations have also adjusted their prices. We have monitored it. We've seen stations reducing their prices to 1.2%, 1.6%. Some have been doing 2.4% at the very beginning, which is good, because imagine you bought the product last week at the price of I mean at a higher price, and this window needs to get a new price that's a bit lower. Most of them are very reluctant in effecting the changes, with understanding that they might have purchased the product at a higher price and they're going to pay for that. Okay, but monitoring the market, we are very happy as a chamber to see that our members are adhering to the effects of the international changes. So that is that to say regarding the foreseeable changes in the future.
Okay, so Doc, you spoke about the government reducing some of the taxes if we want to free up some more space for consumers. But looking at your report, for instance, it reveals that government taxes add up to just about 3 cedis on the price buildup. And looking at where government is right now, especially this particular government that has been cut from the international market, domestic revenue is crucial for them. So asking for tax reliefs at this point may not be the way to go. How else can government come in to help check fuel prices then?
Like I said, in a deregulated market, which is good for the government anyway, because before the industry was deregulated, the government had to cough so much money to subsidize the fuel that were purchased by the ordinary Ghanaian. Today, that payment is not made anymore. Yes, I agree that the 21% the pump price sums up to just 3%. Three cedis on average. But believe me, if we had 1.5 cedis out of this on the pump price, it will go a long way to reduce marginally the fuel prices. I believe one of the other ways the government can support is making sure that our cedi or our currency is stabilized, and if possible, getting it back to the single digits that used to be, if possible. Okay, that would be a very good way to go, since the cedi is very crucial element in the price buildup. There are also additional operational bottlenecks which we experience, and just to cite a very quick example, not to throw so much light into it, is what happened in the Kumasi and Abunga Halfo region last 2 weeks, when there was a bit of disruption in the supply chain, and some of my members had to increase their prices to control the demand. And I believe that if there are systems in place that will make sure that the oil marketing companies have a seamless operations, and all this enough, believe me, you're going to enjoy a sustainable price in the market.
Okay, we also have joining us via Zoom Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEC, Duncan Ama. Duncan, we know that you are the advocate for consumers when it comes to fuel price. I'm sure you're happy with the reduction, but like Oliver Twist, you want more, not so?
I wonder how you could read my mind so excellently. But it is not surprising, indeed. If you watch what I read with COMAC earlier, that suggested that we're to do between 3 and 5% averagely for both products. We had higher expectations than what the pumps have so far yielded. Whatever accounts for their underperformance, I mean the OMC's underperformance, in giving relief to those of us on the other side. We would interrogate it further subsequently. But truthfully, it is good news that some home prices clearly have gone down. Nobody would, of course, want to pay more for fuel when we're already squeezed. You know, the incomes we take in Ghana is hardly able to take us home. But when it comes to fuel pricing, there's a certain unspoken rule of, you know, a liter to a dollar that has seamlessly applied over the period. And so when we heard that it was going to go down, our expectation was that for once we're going to go a little below the 15 Ghana cedi mark per liter for most OMCs. But the bigger ones I have seen so far are still doing about 15.49. That is quite high, relatively higher. And I think that maybe COMAC would need to also sit with some of them, because it looks as though when we deserve reductions, you will get all kinds of feed dragging, you know, activities where day one comes, the 16th comes, you don't see anybody adjusting downwards. Today, 17th, some have adjusted, some have still refused to adjust. I mean, as of this particular time that we having this discussion. That for us is not good enough, because then again, if there's a consumer in Cape Coast that probably depends on an OMC close by, and prices have gone down since yesterday, close of day today, there's still no effect to them. You are simply shortchanging them. So COMAC may have to also look at some of these developments as far as, you know, ensuring that when prices would need to go down, the excuses don't come flooding in, because when oftentimes the reverse is the case, they don't make excuses. When it has to go up, you wake up on the 16th, by 12 midday, most of them have already adjusted price upwards. And that, for us, is, I mean, one of the things that, of course, businessmen would always want to ensure they get, they derive the maximum returns, I mean, from the market. But then again, consumers are also watching. Michael, as to whether where we are, it's a point that if you're a Ghanaian consumer, you should be excited or happy. My answer will be a big no. The international market dynamics have been quite favorable. And so, like you rightly said, prices could have gone down further. Earlier part of the year, there were these, you know, demand pressures and then supply issues. Both within the middle belt were undertaking this depot upgrade that saw to it that products were not going as they should. And once demand remains constant, supply is challenged, then you would find a situation where the BDCs at some point would have to, you know, hike prices, because what you are looking for is not there. And so prices at a point when they should have come down were rather going up. The question would be for the month of March or the first 3 months, we are okay. Should the tables turn in April, in May, in June, would we be able to come back to the consumer favorably, or the country or the state would put in certain mitigating measures to ensure you and I don't wake up? Pessoa reduction, you'll be. It is okay, it's good, it's welcoming. We welcome the oil marketing companies for at least heeding to their own projections to decline on market prices, though not all of them have done so. And I would want to task Dr. Opong to go back to those members who, as of this day and time, have refused to give the consumer any respite, and ask them why probably the delay. We don't think that there's any sufficient reason for them not to give the consumer the needed reductions that you and I deserve at this point. But he would need to go back and come again.
So I'm sure, Dr. Opong, you want to respond to some of the things that Dan Kanama has been speaking to. But before I come to you, we've been speaking to commuters on what they make of this whole 3 consecutive price drops. We'll pick their thoughts and come back to you, Doc, for your reaction on Duncan and what you think of their comments. But if you're watching us live on Facebook, please drop your comments. We'll read them for you and get reactions from our guests if you have any questions for them. So let's listen now to what commuters had to say about this drop in prices.
That they should maintain the transport fare and then reduce the fuel prices. But what I would like to tell the drivers is that strategic move that they've been doing, especially in the evenings, a passenger is going to, let's say, Ofankor, they'll be requesting for Achimota or circle to Achimota, and then they will continue from Achimota to Ofankor. I think they should stop that and just use the normal, way of doing business.
If
the 50% deduction is difficult for the driver, 1 cedi or 2 cedis can be deducted from the fares depending on the distance.
The driver are the ones that can decide on fare deduction. We passengers have no say in it.
So you heard the consumers over there. They want to see prices actually go down, and this is the expectation as prices fall. But of course, we'll hear also from the drivers along the line to find out what they also make of it. But Doc, maybe I'll come to you first. You've heard some concerns that Dankanamo has raised. We've heard also commuters saying that they want more. They want to see more of this reflect in their pockets. But maybe you respond to Dankanamo first.
Yeah, thank you. And I find most of the concerns from the ordinary Ghanaian very appropriate. Just like Dankanamo alluded, believe me or not, it's only in this country or a continent called Africa that when fuel price go down, transportation price stabilizes. And when fuel price goes up again, they increase their lorry fares. So when I heard that lorry fares was going to go up, I was a bit in a limbo. So just to address to what Mr. Moa just mentioned, that some of my members are still keeping it. I want to make a very sequential statement that the pricing window given to us by the regulator has brackets. Okay, so it has a minimum and has a maximum. Miraculously, the minimum now, which is called the floor price, means that none of my members can sell below the floor price. And the maximum means that, well, you can choose to sell, but the regulator is going to question you. I've started emails where the regulator sent emails to some of my members questioning them why they were above the threshold, okay? Just a few of them, and then the response was clear. Like I mentioned, I think before Duncan joined the call, if I have a product that I bought at the last window, okay, that's during the last window, and I still have stock, normally what will happen is that some of the OMCs would like to sell those stocks out and refreshen it, because believe it or not, they are still going to pay the old price to the BDCs. The BDC is not going to say that OMCs, now the price have gone down, so pay me with the current price. All right, so these are some of the factors that would make you see a sluggish move from going top to down. But like you said, they are very quick moving from the down to the top, because like any businessman would like to can take advantage of a new price that favors him. Let me also emphatically mention that when we look at the three levers I mentioned, that the SREF price, which you call the refinery price, takes 75% of the pump price, 20% going to taxes, levies, and other about. Just 4 to 5% going to my members. All right, for all the infrastructure that they've set in. And I don't know if Mr. Moa has this data. Probably I can share with him going tomorrow. For the past 10 years, all right, and probably beyond, it is the margin of my members that has been slashed and reduced consistently and constantly in the price builder because of competition. All right, because you cannot stay close to a member who is selling lower than you and you think you'll be competitive. You'll be forced to sell at that low price, even though you know that it's not affordable. And that has brought a lot of issues. I don't want to mention them right away in the industry, all right? But believe me that we are monitoring it. We've seen some members adhering to it. I've mentioned that some are doing 1.2, 1.3. And again, we could not see the full impact of 6 to 9% into the market because there are other logistics factors that will affect a landing price. And let me say, the landing price are not controlled by the OMCs. They are controlled by the IOTCs and the BDCs. So if there's anything to be sought out in that particular regime, we talk to the BDCs and the IOTCs who would import and tell us why we're experiencing the full impact of the international.
But Doc, I know that as we speak, the current floor price is at about, is it 12 or 13 CDs?
And so remember, the floor
what is accounting for that about 2 CDs difference that we are seeing at the pumps?
Fantastic. So remember, the floor price does not include the BDC margin.
Okay. So basically what you are saying is that the additional about 2-3 CDs difference we are seeing is the BDC margin and including the margins for your members. Is that it?
But remember, the BDC's margins are more than the OMC's margins.
Okay, fair point. Now, gentlemen, I know that both of you had some very strong stance with governments. Duncan, you have reservations? Okay, well, so you hold on a second. Duncan, hold on. So I know both of you. Yeah, okay, you Duncan, go ahead.
Michael, we need some reviewing of the price build-up, clearly. You may not be a bit too focused on just government taxes or industry margins, but there are some inbuilt, levies and margins that, if you ask me, I cannot, justify to the ordinary Ghanaian. Some of them would need to go. Michael, if you come to the specifics, I would always say that we've had a conversation recently about UPPF and inbuilt within the UPPF some electronic cargo tracking margin, some 28% that you pay every liter. What it means is that by the time you buy 1 gallon, you do 28 by some 4.5, you paid 1 Ghana cedi per gallon. So 20 gallons, 20 cedis. Those monies, whatever is being used for, whatever they are applied for, I cannot put my hand to it, though having followed or being a part of this industry for over a decade. You cannot put your hand to exactly what we're doing with these money. So we would need to rationalize the price build-up. We would need to look at also some of these markups or the margins that we allow for one, the BDC, to the OMC. Dr. Opon is spot on when he says that his members are often squeezed because they are at the lower end of the value chain. So it's like the last point that interfaces with the consumer. So whatever the IoT delivers, they will pick it up and then add just a little and sell, and then be able to take care of their infrastructure and then other logistical costs. But whatever it is, those who are investing in the industry don't seem to be making as much as the contractors and the other rent seekers. And that for me is a big headache. If somebody is investing and was even deriving some returns, it would encourage additional or better investments. But as it stands, there are people on the fringes who clearly are making way more money, than say an entire OMC an entire year. Somebody could make more money within a month than an entire OMC could make within a year. Clearly, we will need to rationalize the price build-up. Okay. We will need to take out some of these, items embedded in there. We will need to factor the Ghanaian in there, factor the pressures that we feel in our pockets, as far as buying fuel is concerned. I was happy he said that when transport fares, they are retained or maintained when fuel prices decline, and then when it goes up, we go up on transport fares. Clearly, anytime fuel prices move,
okay,
you would see a corresponding effect with transport fares. Although just a few days ago, operators are asking to increase transport fares while fuel prices are declining. That conversation we'll have with them behind the scene. We'll talk to the GPRTU, we'll talk to everybody. But between you and I, there's a lot of money being made by people who don't even invest in the industry, but on the fringes, they make so much money at the expense of you and I, Michael, and we pay for it at the pumps.
Interesting. At least we can cut some will argue that for the transport operators, they have maintained prices despite the many increments that we've seen, especially even from the beginning of the year. But away from that, at least we've heard the government also say that the price stabilization recovery levy will be sort of redirected to serve the purpose for which it was established. I'm sure at least that gives you some respite. But I know that both of you had strong opinions about the gold for oil policy and the likes that we know has been put on hold. Now we have the gold board. Where do you guys sit with this policy, especially in addressing the issue of CD dollar conversation in the whole fuel price industry? So I think
Michael, let me take it first.
Okay.
Let me take my turn first on this one.
Fair point.
Gold for oil, gold board, gold coin, gold exchange, bullion, whatever it is. We are simply telling Ghanaians we want to pay for 100%, finished product that we import for consumption. I have argued, variously, that we will need to do the heavy lifting at this time once and for all. Fix your systems and fix them meticulously. Do not do the 9-day lifting and then you come back to another government another day. That comes with, there's a gold board now. Tomorrow there will be a gold box. Another government will come, there will be a gold house or a gold room. All kinds of sloganeering cliches. We could do better if we strategize as a country, reposition our refining space. You have private refineries, you have a state refinery. Whatever support that we can provide as a people, as a state, let's drive that much attention, resources, effort to the refining space. It cannot be right that a struggling economy like ours would continue to be important from, ARA, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and wherever. Then we go to Dubai, Asia, bring products. Economies that are thriving are refining. An economy like ours that is struggling says that we don't have a need for refining space. And so we'll rather import everything 100% and sell to our people. Then at the end of the day, the conversation now switches from how do you pay for the refined products? Should we use gold bullion? Should we do gold for oil? Direct exchange. Should we have a gold board that will aggregate all the gold and decide what to do? Michael, we need to go back to the basics. There was a reason for which in 1967 a refinery was set up. There's a reason for which in 1993 we decided that we needed a bulk oil storage and transportation facility, which probably sits like the Oklahoma cushioning in the US. We decided to do this to stock up so that when today prices are favorable, we can stock up. If you wake up tomorrow, geopolitical tensions make it, unsustainable to buy spot price from the international market, you can then release what you have put in your tanks. Unfortunately, all these safety nets, we are not interested. The refining space, we are not interested. Bust and whatever role it could play to mitigate the harsh effects of prices on us, we are not interested. So we would leave the net and the pool empty. Whatever enters, enters. Whatever gets out, gets out. If we continue to operate this way, no amount of government taxes that we will reduce from fuel will bring fuel prices down. You will need a coherent strategy, and that strategy has got to do with doing the very heavy liftings that we have ignored to do over the past years as a country.
So,
Michael.
So basically, go back to the basics, and that's what I was quite surprised when I looked at the budget. I didn't see any allocations for toll in it. I'm sure it's good we have the managing director to join us later in the show to clarify some of these things and what the way forward really is. But Doc, I'll pick your thoughts on the whole gold board conversation, where you sit with it.
Yeah, thank you so much. My brother Duncan has mentioned quite a number of very useful facts, and I wouldn't want to add anything to what he's done. The point is very clear. The gold for oil was supposed to reduce the demand on the USD at a particular point in time. And that time or that regime is no more. Okay, so the conversation around go for oil for me is not a question to even discuss today. What can we do in replace of what go for oil is? Boss has a mandate and boss has a task. That task must be executed with all passion and very, very discreetly. Because there's a lot of focus. Today, the transparency angle of it is still a bit questionable, and I don't think that is where we're going to go. It's not only crude oil product that we import in this country. We import chicken. We import tomato. Let's have gold for tomatoes. Let's have gold for chicken import, all right? I'd rather we focus using the gold that we have as a backup, all right, as a backup of our currency, and knowing that the currency or the strength of the currency, Ghana cedis, is a factor into the pump price. Having it come down will bring pump prices down. It's a good thing to look at, okay? And like I said, Duncan mentioned about the Tema Oil refinery. Is a big shame. It's a very big shame that Tema Oil refinery is not working. It might not be in the budget because the government is looking at the private entity taking over, which could be another option. Why not? Government can still have a minority stake in it. Let's give it out to a foreign person to revamp it, bring the product, preferably a trader that has access to crude oil, and then make it work. I mean, a very simple petroleum economics 101 will tell you that you're going to get more than 100% profit when you execute a very legit refinery. It doesn't bring high demand on your forex because everything is traded locally. Today, Ghana Gas is trading the LPG at the city rate because the components, everything here is done by local company. All right. So why not? Why can't we have Tor working and taking cities? Centio was taking cities, but it's a foreign company. How much more a Ghanaian company? And I believe that discussion needs to be taken a look at. Duncan mentioned UPPF. We are in discussion at the UPPF board committee level, looking at the best ways to bring that margin down. And I'm very happy you mentioned it, to also bring the pump price also down. All
right, Doc, thank you so much for your time. It's a good thing that we have Dr. Isif Sulemana joining us in all of this conversation, the Managing Director of Tema Oil Refinery. We'll find out from him if maybe part of his 100-day plan is to get the refinery back on stream. We'll see what he has to say to that. But thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time. Basically, Dr. Isif Sulemana, I think you're on now. Doc, if you can hear me, good evening.
Good evening, Michael, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you also for joining us, and congratulations on your appointment as the Managing Director of Tema Oil Refinery. You come in from an interesting perspective, an industry person. You've worked at Tor before, you've worked at Oman Oil Refinery before, and now you are back with a wealth of experiences. How has the transition been for you so far?
Yeah, so Michael, I would say so far so good. I mean, it's just like coming back home. We have instances where others will go to places where they almost look like a fish out of water. For our case, it's different. Myself and my deputy, we have both been here. And so it's a welcome back home. But of course, not business as usual. So far, there has been very, very, interesting stakes at hand with the massive cooperation from the workforce, the union. Everybody wants to get the refinery back to business. So on that score, I think there's positive momentum, and the sky can only be the limit, Michael. So I would say so far so good. The grounds are looking good, except that, of course, the way I left the refinery is not the same way I came to meet it. And the way I used to sit and talk about the refinery, of course, I have different view, a little bit of different view now, as I'm on the seat now. So yes, the challenges are high, but not unsurmountable. I think we are up to the task, and we'll do just that, Michael.
All right, thank you. I believe this is your first media engagement upon assuming office. I thank you for doing us the honors. But then, quickly, in the 2025 budget, toll was not mentioned. How did you receive that news?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say yes, explicitly maybe. If you look at it, let's say superficial or aerial, you might not see toll name like Tema Oil Refinery mentioned. But if you look at the budget that was allocated to the entire sector, I think that was quite huge. And I believe based on our priorities, toll will definitely have its own portion. Now, beyond that, we are looking beyond even government coming in to support. Of course, government is still the sole shareholder, 100%. But Michael, as I speak to you now, I initially thought people were not interested in toll. I thought toll was indebted. I thought toll was, let's say, bankrupt. It was seen up there. As I talk to you now, in front of my table, I have up to 7 companies who are very much interested in investing in toll. In fact, we already have one that has already been signed, which we are doing due diligence just to get a credible partner. So it's just a matter of separating the boys from the men as the days go. So what I would say is, probably you might not see toll mentioned explicitly, but our target is just to get a partner, to get a private sector partner who is credible enough to partner with us to be able to take the refinery to the next level. And I'm saying that because 2 things will happen. The refinery has been dormant for this elongated period of time in terms of the core business. But even without the core business, Mike, I can tell you, if you drive here, you will think that the refinery is running. If you see the number of tanker trucks activity that is ongoing, but that is on the terminal side. And that even we are not leaving to chance. We are maximizing the potential of every single asset that we have here in the refinery, even before the core business come to play. So why toll, you didn't see toll mentioned, it's not that it's relegated. From the checks and from what we have seen coming, we will definitely announce in the coming weeks, probably maximum within a month, if possible, a credible partner who will come and partner with us to be able to, and some are interested in doing everything, Michael, and that's so much refreshing to know that people want to take up the entire facility of the refinery just to revamp it. So what we need now, we need a revamping to be able to get the refinery back to, to an operation that will change a product that can compete with international standard. But even that, take it, if I get like $20 million, $25 million, as we speak now, we can be able to run the CDU. But of course, with a product that is still a bit not matching Ghana standard with respect to what we import. But of course, if we get a strategic investor in that can invest, and then we have a facility we call hydrotreater, like what is happening within other jurisdictions, where we can bring down the sulfur content to the barest minimum possible, let's say 50 ppm. And that's the way to go. So yes, I will say that yes, it wasn't mentioned like toll, but there is a lot happening. I can tell you on authority that there's a lot happening, and we have a lot of people interested in the refinery. And like I mentioned, I have more than 7 investors on my table, and I think more are still coming.
Sounds very refreshing to hear. But we hope that as you are moving to get private investment into this, public interest will still be protected with the contracts that you are signing. But then, Doc, still on getting Tema Oil Refinery back on track. We know Central Refinery is already already has the capacity to meet the entire country's fuel demands. We also have Dangote Refinery supplying the sub-region. Does TOR still stand a competitive edge, or is it too late to come back?
Not at all. We still have that competitive edge. Now, even though, let's not go to Dangote, for instance. Even if we encapsulate Dangote, if you look at the entire African continent, I mean, we are almost important until Dangote came to the scene. We have almost been import dependent when it comes to petroleum product. There hasn't been so many African countries that we have run refinery. With the whole African continent that we have, you'll be surprised that we'll have like 5 or 6 refineries. And that is so unacceptable. Where we are so much dependent, it's not only Ghana, most African countries, their refineries are not run. So Nigeria, they have taken a giant step, and that's a positive one. And we should look out for them. They're going to make giant strides. You will see the impact. In fact, the impact is already happening as we speak now. So refining is the way to go. If you have a downstream like ours, that contributes to like 8% of our GDP, and we still do more than 90% of our importation with, depending on our finished product from importation, then we are so much exposed in terms of our energy security. And so we have seen that, and we thought that, Tamoyo refining is the way to go, and the government has seen that. So it was not any mistake that, the current administration saw the need to put it in the manifesto that they would like to see TOR back. And I can tell you on authority that plans are far underway to get the 45 to 60,000 barrels of the refinery back to stream day, and then to even build a refinery that can refine up to 100,000. If you talk about the quantity or the amount that is churned out there, Michael, we have a huge potential, like I just mentioned, in the African continent. And Ghana, our strategic location, look at our landlocked countries, those surrounded, none of them has any working refinery. And so Nigeria now has a huge market. So Dangote or no Dangote, Ghana will still need a local refinery. A local refinery that we can take charge of our own destiny, that we can use to limit pressures on our currency, like my previous colleagues have just mentioned. And when you come to Dangote, Central, for instance, people are asking whether we are competitors. I always say that we, Tama Oil Refinery and Central, we are not competitors. We should be collaborators to champion the energy security of the nation. If you look at Central as it stands now, we have partnership with them. We both have our competitive edge. Yes, Central has 100,000 barrels of refinery capacity, but they cannot compete with TOR when it comes to storage. As we speak now, we have a standing contract with them on storage. Our idle tank that we are not using, we just lease it out to them on contract basis for them to get revenue from that. So Central is there, but it doesn't take the energy, or it doesn't take the momentum, or it doesn't take anything from the nation coming out to make sure that TOR runs. TOR can run, and TOR will have much more impact on our energy security as compared to a private refinery like Central. Michael.
Doc, what about the financial position of TOR? We looked at your debts, and over the last 5 years, I believe that you have posted losses. As you speak at the moment, your average loss is about 400 million Ghana cedis. At some point, over $1 billion. What is your plan to turn the fortunes around of the refinery?
Yes, so the plan is simple. If you ask my colleagues' workforce, when I came first, what I informed them, or my first debate, what I informed them is that I made them believe that we have to run the refinery like our individual businesses. And I told them that everybody in each corner is a managing director within that corner, and people will be taken accountable. So what we are doing now is we are championing a strategy called sweating the asset. Every single asset that we have, going to sweat it, and to make sure that we can drive the maximum benefit from it. And that's currently what is ongoing. And we've seen massive improvement as we speak now. We are not going to wait for any strategic investor to come, and we're not prepared. Yes, as we are waiting for the partnership, we have a lot of things that to do. And if you look at our commentary, even before I assume this hot seat, I always used to tell you that, Michael, I always used to tell you that the final problems are two countries, the external and the internal. In fact, I had underestimated the internal issues. Now that I'm there, I noticed that the internal issues, they are equally humongous. That requires that we put our shoulder to the wheel, and we are up to the task. We've started, and so far it's been so great. We want to become a phenomenal efficient. If you notice the president's message to us, the CEOs, or the day that we were met with the SIGA forum, that was scary, but that was also telling. The president made it clear that 3 things could happen as a SOE. You either try to stop being indebted. I mean, you either start to not to make debt, not to incur debt, as the status quo of, like most of SOEs, or you have to get private sector to partner with you in terms of privatization. And privatization, that doesn't mean that we are giving it out for private man 100%. That's not what it means. Whether ECG or TOR, it's going to be a partnership, and government is still going to have chunk share of that. Whether ECG or TOR is key to our energy security, and we're not going to leave it that totally into the private hands, but we need partnership just to increase that efficiency within the sector to be able to turn the tide. Okay. Now, talking about TOR debt, people have been mentioning about TOR debt. I asked debt on what? Debt on a refinery that is not running. So I always say that talking about TOR debt, it's not fair when we are not judged by the core business. The core business has not been there for an elongated period of time. I believe we can be judged well and fairly when we start the core business and we still make losses. And I think we're not going to do that. And that's why we're putting our art together, putting our home together, so that once the core business come online, definitely we're going to make a lot of profit. And I can guarantee you that once efficiency, the kind of strategy that we are driving in terms of sweating the asset, maximizing the potential of the asset, including the workforce, once the core business come online, we're going to turn the tides. So the debt we have, they are all legacy debt. It's okay.
Look, whether you like the fact that you are not being judged fairly or not, debt is debt, and it's on your books. So we are hoping that you work to make things better, especially now that you've assured us that in the next month or two, you'll be signing a partnership that will get TOR back on track. Now, for the average Ghanaian who is listening, all we care about is pump prices. If TOR is able to get back on track with the times that you've given us, first off, help us understand how soon can we begin to see TOR refine fuel products? And when you finally begin, what should be the impact on pump prices for the average Ghanaian who's listening to you?
Yeah, so that's a good one. The timelines, it will be difficult for now because it's all contingent to when we're going to sign, when we're going to arrive on the partnership. At the moment, the board is still reconstituted. So a lot of decisions are ongoing, to be able to come up with the partner, and the partner will channel the direction and when we can be certain, with certainty. Because I don't want to tell you 2 months, 3 months, and the next 3 months you come back to me that you are not seeing the flare, what's going on. So everything is contingent on the private, we're getting the credit partner, and I can tell you that the credit partner will be gotten within the shortest possible time, hopefully, especially once we have the board in place, that will make the decision very easy for us to arrive at the credit partner. And like I mentioned also, the partners are there. We have them. Already one is signed, is being reviewed. We have others who are knocking out our doors just to sign the partnership with us to turn the fortunes of TOR. So for the timelines, I will plead to do that. Just bear with us and let us get everything in place.
Look, I know you are running away from the timelines, but we here on Business Focus pledge to be at your doorsteps till we get this tomorrow refinery working. So we will still be coming to you despite you not giving us a timeline. But Duncan, we have just a minute to wrap up. What are your takes on what Dr. Isusulama has said, and do you find this reassuring?
Kind of refreshing to hear that he is thinking along the lines that most Ghanaians are thinking. And if you listen to him, he is not making excuses, the kind of usual excuses you hear from managing directors when they clearly are failing or not having any plan in place. You hear from him that there are plans to actually partner somebody to get a refinery up and running. Would want to help him do a very good job, and so he should be as transparent as anything possible. It's a state asset. Transparency should be the watchword. Again, value for money should also be factored in there, no matter what or who he settles on. But whatever it is that we derive from his experience at the refinery, we would want to see the refinery up and running. We would want to see Ghana at least produce 40–50% of what we consume daily, so that whatever benefits that we give to the European refineries, we could keep some of that here and ensure that the average Ghanaian
is not overfleeced anytime there are geopolitical tensions or factors across the world and we have to pay for it locally. Let's internalize our own factors, like he said, and ensure that we can at least be petroleum secured.
Sure.
So that one store is refining, Centro is also aided to partner to refine. We should be able to get to a point where we'll no longer need gold or gold bars or gold for oil or any of those things
well
to import finished products, Michael.
Thank you so much, Duncan Nama. That was Duncan Nama. He's the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana. Earlier also you heard Dr. Isif Sulemana. He is the Acting Managing Director for Tema Oil Refinery, speaking to us here on Business Focus exclusively for the first time since he assumed office. We also had Dr. Revamping Opong. He is the CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC. And well, on that note, that will be all for today's edition of Business Focus here on TV3. For more business stories, please visit our website, s3news.com/business. Later, also on News 360, we're bringing you updates from the world of business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for watching. Catch you same time next week. As always, please stay safe.